Lebanon and Syria, if you take them as a black box, there's dollars inflows to both countries and dollar outflows, right? And that number is negative in the sense that the outflows are bigger than the inflows. Then you have reserves in both countries, and these are the dollars that everyone's competing for.
Right, including in Syria, the Syrian regime too. It's the same.
Yeah, but it's not. In my opinion, it's not in the sense that you put a truck of US dollars and take it to Syria. It's not like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's just that when these dollars are subsidizing products, and these products are being bought at 1,500 per the dollar, you have a way to go take these products and sell them in Syria and make a profit of them. I'm talking about smugglers and things like that.
Yeah.
And this is where all the focus is being. Some people say that, yeah, but you're getting paid for that fuel or whatever, and you're getting paid in US dollar. But I'm not sure, are you getting paid in US dollar? I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm a smuggler, I'm taking Lebanese Lira and getting this fuel with subsidized dollars from the BDL. So my initial investment is Lebanese Lira. And I'm taking that fuel to Syria, and I'm selling it. Now, if my initial investment is paid in Lebanese Lira and my profit, and there's a big profit in Lebanese Lira, I'll take it, since I can have access to additional subsidies and additional dollars to buy and further fuel, right? So, and if you follow the Lebanese Lira and the Syrian pound devaluation since October, you can see a certain trend, right? They're both devaluing roughly at the same rate.
But was this in any way meant to aid the I mean, I can't imagine that this is meant to help smugglers, that there's a decision to help the black market. Is the motivation to literally try to stabilize what's happening, or is it a misguided sort of approach in that maybe it's going to the wrong actors at the end?
Yeah, for me, I don't know, because I don't even know if there's going to be injection, right? We are speculating on things. And if there's going to be injection, is it due to pressure that was happening, yesterday?
Right.
All of these I can't answer. You have to need to talk to someone who is an insider, who had, all these conversations, and most likely the opinions you'll get are based on political standing. So whoever thinks that, it is the case. So, yeah.
Mohamad, is there anything that you could add to that, just in terms of the motivation?
My personal opinion on the motivation is that this is a knee-jerk and desperate attempt to kick the can down the road, as they have always been since the 1990s. So, one thing about Lebanon that I found quite fascinating is that, unlike most countries, most countries that have a free market, assuming that Lebanon is a free market, had boom and bust cycles in the economy. They had recessions, they had booms, but they also had recessions.
Yes.
Lebanon, since the 1990s, didn't have boom and bust cycles. Why is that? Because whenever things get really bad, we manage to get some form of bailout, and we kick the can down the road. And but the problem is that this bailout was always used in the wrong way. It wasn't. So we never really solved the underlying issues, and in the process, we always basically kicked the can, snowballed a crisis that's there even more, and we've done that multiple times until the day fracking has come. Today, I would put this attempt within this very same, what shall I call it, path of basically kicking the can down the road. That's a trend that they follow.
But can I ask you though, what are they? I mean, I'm asking I'm very naive on this subject, but what is the benefit of making that decision right now? Is it meant to literally try to stabilize the lira? Is that the motivation, or is it trying to stabilize Syria too? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the...
I don't think it's an attempt to stabilize Syria. I don't think it's even an attempt to properly stabilize the currency in Lebanon. I think this is a desperate response, a knee-jerk response to buy time until some miracle happens. But one thing that they seem to be missing, or they might be aware of, they should be aware of actually, is that kicking the can down the road is no longer an option.
Now, can I ask you though? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
It has become so costly, and previously you could buy yourself a couple of years through bailouts. Right now, you're just by injecting dollars, assuming they're gonna inject dollars into the market, they're literally burning money. This is literally burning money to buy themselves time until something happens.
I read a tweet, and I think it was from Ishat Diwan, if I'm not mistaken. It was just maybe an hour or two ago, that there are two immediate choices that both are bad. The first is hyperinflation. You pump Lebanon with trillions of lira and watch the lira just tumble out of control. The other option is cut the services in half and wait for an IMF bailout. That kind of both are very painful. But is that a real sort of dilemma right now, that it's either Lebanon literally halts or it's the lira just reaches beyond 10,000? Because both are very bleak scenarios. And both of you, maybe if you have any opinion on that.
Under this political setup, yes, there is no option.
There's no option.
Under this political setup, as long as you're having the same people calling the shots,
yes,
there are no options.
Waël, would you see it the same way?
In my opinion, Rani, is there's only one way to resolve the issue, and it's getting funds to kickstart the economy. There's no other way. You cannot do anything else.
Yeah.
I don't see anything else, right? So where do you get these funds? There's where the political things, unfortunately, economics and politics are very, entangled, and you can't really separate one from the other. I mean, you can do all technical analysis you want. At the end of the day, the decision is a political decision. And so I personally feel that even though IMF programs are hard, they haven't worked everywhere. They failed in many places, and you can debate why they failed or didn't fail. But do we have other alternatives? I mean, that's the question. And yes, I agree. It's going to be painful regardless what you choose to do, either through hyperinflation or through removing subsidies or whatever. At the end of the day, it's the poor Lebanese guy who is out of work and needs to feed his kids, who is the ultimate person who is suffering. And I disagree somewhat with Mohamad that he said they can't keep the road anymore. Well, from what I've seen, that's exactly what they're doing, right? They have nothing on the line. They have their political power, and that's what they like to keep. And unfortunately, they have to be forced out of that through, public. The public,
Just to clarify, I'm not saying that it's not an option anymore. Maybe I should have been clearer here, but it's less effective. It's not as effective as it used to be. Pumping a few dollars into the system is going to buy them a week, 2, maybe month. This is nothing compared to the previous method of getting a couple of billions in bailouts and using that to buy time. And my worry is that let's say we do get an IMF bailout, a couple of billions. Under this political setup, it's just going to be used to buy time again.
So kicking the can now is really just weeks. It's not longer than that. I mean, this is
as long as there is no injection of outside dollars from outside. Then yes, because they are running out of options. Unless they go for this outlandish scenario of selling the gold and using that, that's $15 billion. But that would need a consensus vote in the parliament.
Right.
Rani, in my opinion, regardless, I mean, yes, right now injecting dollars is kicking the can, but it's kicking it like maybe a meter in front of you.
Exactly. But it's becoming less effective now.
Right.
But what scares me is, as Mohamad said, using the gold, doing, a sovereign fund, whatever it is, that new money that's coming in, if you don't do the necessary change, it's kicking the can. I mean, it is kicking the can. And the thing is, we've seen that with the latest charades that's been happening, that's exactly what they're still doing.
No, I,
Kicking the can is their policy choice.
this is still the bad effects of the old way of power sharing.
Yeah, no question about it.
It's still business as usual. It's
Yeah.
still business as usual.
No question about it.